Hey Patrick, what's up, man? Yeah, I know, man. I didn't realize the amount of time that I was away from doing live streams. It's been 7 months. So yeah, I'm using this new platform called Riverside, and what it's doing right now, I believe, because I checked on YouTube too, it's streaming on YouTube. I have it streaming on Twitch as well as Twitter. So um, we should be good to go. It's a little different. It's good that I can see your guys'. Hey, Lean, good to see you, Thomas. It's good to see that I can see your comments here because I was curious how this one would work. Um, but I heard a lot of good things about Riverside. It's similar to what's the name of the other software that's really popular? StreamYard. But this one's real similar too. Supposedly better in terms of interaction, things like that. But what's nice is I do see that it is streaming over on YouTube as well, so that's good. But yeah, man, I hope you guys are doing well. Um, Mom's great to see you on here, Patrick. I think I didn't even know you had a Twitter X. Yeah, I'm gonna be using it basically just for streams, um, and again to get more interaction with the community on other platforms because I do mainly use YouTube. I have a LinkedIn profile as well. That's mainly for business, but that particular one, I'll have to take the link from this particular live stream and stream it and manually upload it onto LinkedIn because I just created my profile over there as well. So you have to have like a certain amount of followers over there to I think it's 150 or something like that to stream. So say hey Theo, good to see you, man. Hey Nate, long time. Good to see you again. So much has happened in the running world, man. You ain't kidding. So much has been going on for sure. I know with the Grand Slam track, I think that's a pretty cool idea with with Michael Johnson doing that. Um, yeah, the Slam champions I think get like 100K each time, so it's a pretty good deal for the athletes going into that. But yeah, so much has gone on, that's for sure. Mr. Hey Coach Matthew and okay, good stuff. Matthew and Cindy, those are two of my athletes, phenomenal runners themselves, doing some awesome things. So great to see you, Matthew and Cindy. Hope everything's going well with you. Let me see here. I do see. Yeah, I like this setup. It's a little different. Like I mentioned, it's just it's been 7 months since I've done a live stream, and I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, yeah, I got to jump back on there and make interacting with athletes one on one. At least maybe once a week, just to do that. Maybe twice a week. It just depends. But I've been thinking about doing that. Along with continuing to make videos, but I do think nothing beats being able to at least, have an athlete if there's a question or even if it's non-running related, you just want to talk, event, whatever, um, to jump on here and to talk. Patrick, what about TikTok? I don't have that. I know it's controversial, but there's some crazy growth on the platform. Yeah, I've heard about TikTok as well. I'll have to look into it. Like I said, my thing is what are the avenues, and I know enough about marketing and marketing background that I should be doing that. I should be on other platforms, and this particular Riverside platform in terms of live streaming, I think it also allows me to live stream onto TikTok as well. So I may do that as well, Patrick. Good point there, man. In terms of just trying to reach other athletes. There's only so much that I can do in terms of the YouTube channel, but if it's something where I can live stream on this platform and then it goes to all these different channels, then hopefully somebody out there, and it's not just about building the brand, it's about reaching someone that may be having an issue. Uh, maybe it's an athlete that has an enormous amount of potential, but they are just so frustrated and so pissed off and so tired of maybe not meeting what they want. Maybe I can reach them by way of utilizing this particular platform, so I can get to other athletes that may not would have not been able to I would have not been able to reach had I not done this and not been able to, because this is nice because it lets me uh, I can include all these different platforms, and it just lets me live stream on all of them. Twitch is another one that I have live streaming right now as well. So yeah, I hope all of you are doing great. It's like I said, mentioned before, it's been a while since I jumped on one of these, and yeah, like Theo said, there's so much going on in the running world. Um, just with the world championships coming up, Diamond League meets going on top of what you all are doing as well. I think it's great to be able to utilize platforms like this where I can actually hear what you all have to say. Um, Maybe it's something that's on your mind in terms of training or racing. But yeah, let's see, Theo. Yeah, weather's been crazy hot. Have a marathon last weekend. Had to walk and jog the second half, but it has opened up to a fire to work on my weakness. Absolutely, Theo. Um, and I've been there too, man. I know how hard it's so hard to get the marathon right, as you all know. I mean, there's days where you're just not going to be on. There's going to be days where you really question what you're doing out there, and times where you've done everything right in training, uh, and we can't always, we can't control with the weather like what Theo dealt with. I mean, I'm the same way. I am absolutely not a hot weather runner. I always perform my best between like 35 degrees Fahrenheit to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. That's like my happy spot. Anything really over, I mean, if it's like 60 to 65, even up to 70, I can do a 5K, but anything over 5K in those types of weather, that type of temperature, especially what Theo just dealt with in the marathon, yeah, I had issues too. Um, yeah, so yeah, Theo, definitely you're still doing awesome. I still think you're going to go well under 3 hours just in due time. It's just nailing it on the perfect day, and trying to run marathons even in May. You never know. Some days you can get hot weather like you experienced, and other days everything goes right. But it's always better. It seems like it's always better to run marathons, at least in my history, man, in the fall if you can. But I think what you did running a marathon like April May time frame, that's still reasonable. The temperatures usually are are decent, but you never know like what you dealt with. So yeah, I'm having to walk and jog the second half. Oh, I know. I remember. Well, I've had plenty of experiences like that, but definitely the 2007 Chicago Marathon. The Army had flown me out there, and I had to finish the race. But if it was my choice on that day, I would have dropped out just because. I mean, it was awful. I hit the half at 111, and I pretty much walked and jogged the last 14 miles. I finished. I ran 251. That was 3 months before running 219. So, like I said, there's just days you're going to be off and flat, and that was one of my days. But I had plenty of experiences like that. So my advice to you, Thea, definitely you got the background and experience, and I know you're strong, and I know you're going to go well under 3 hours. It's just take what you learned in this race. Um, the heat and humidity, that's some things that are just out of our control, as you know, and it's nothing you did wrong for sure. It's just you know one of those things in terms of the complexity of the marathon distance. You know, not like a 2 mile or a 3 or a 5K where the race is over just in a matter of minutes. You got a marathon that's much more complex and so much longer. You know, so but yeah, recently I just, as you all know, I left a few updates in regards to my nephew Brock. He just recently ran 14:22 for 5,000 meters on the track. It was really impressive watching him. It was his last collegiate race. He had just graduated from Washington and Jefferson College last weekend, or last weekend. I think it was Saturday. Yes, last Saturday he graduated, and then it was his last collegiate race, which he raced on Monday night. So it was May 12th, and he always performs at the very best when he needs to. I mean, every race he always does great, but he did like thinking back to his high school state meet. He had a nine. He came in. to the state meet with a 9:45 2 mile, and he ended up running 9:28 that day. This race was his last collegiate race. He came in with a 14:43 5K 5,000 PR, and he ran 14:22. I was at the start line hitting his splits for him, yelling out his splits, and he just kept hitting like 68, 67, 68, 69 every single lap, just right on point every single time around the track. Hit the 2 mile, hit the mile at 4:37, hit the 2 mile at 9:16, and ended up running the 14:22. So 4:37 pace for 3.1 miles. So really impressed with what he did to close out like that. But yeah, it's pretty cool to witness it. So let me see here. I want to get some questions here. I know some of you guys have. Let's see. Edward just finished Cleveland 29-minute PR for my 4th marathon. Your videos helped a lot. That's awesome. Congratulations, Edward. That is no joke, man. Yeah, Cleveland, from what I heard, is a pretty relatively flat course, which I think you did really well in picking that one. But yeah, 29-minute PR. This is an example. I know you all know, but it's just, even the athletes I coach, Matthew and Sydney, man, they dropped a ton of time off their marathon as well. It's just, again, there's days where it's just everything lines up and you get those new PRs, and then you have other days where it's just, you're just off. And it's all about that consistency and being persistent about it and not letting go when you experience those tough times. And I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's the name of the game, with especially the marathon distance. Ben, let's see. Thanks for a live chat, coach. Yeah, no problem. I'm starting a 20-week training block using your sub 255 program tomorrow. Good stuff. Good deal. Any quick words of wisdom before I jump to this next block? Yeah, great question, because I was just on a consultation call last week with an athlete, and they were asking a similar question. My best advice with these training plans, remember, it's just a guide. Okay, if you don't need to hit the volume exactly on every single week, and if the workouts you feel are too aggressive, follow how your body's feeling first. If you're doing, say, like 4 to 5 1,600-meter reps on the track, just know if it feels too aggressive and too anaerobic too early, adjust by a few seconds, 5 to 7 seconds on those 1,600-meter reps. Okay, just for example, and again, the volume, you always want to focus on the quality over quantity. Okay, so if your training plan, with that 255, I know it hovers around 60 to around 80 miles a week. If you're not accustomed to that type of mileage, and maybe you are, but if you're not, again, always go off a feel and just take from it what you will and what works the best for you. But don't feel like if you don't hit every single workout or you don't hit the exact volume on the training plan that you're not going to meet your goals. Okay, I would prefer you to be a little bit more lenient in terms of, especially because you're doing a 5-month block. What I don't want you to do, and this is what I mentioned to the athlete I was on a call with, I don't want you to get too fit too soon. Okay, that was an issue he had. And he also mentioned too that he also noticed that he was still running too fast on his easy days. Okay, so please keep that in mind, because you need to be jogging on those recovery days so that, again, you can continue to push yourself anaerobically really hard, and then being able to allot that sufficient time to recover so that you continue to adapt to what you're throwing at yourself. Okay, if you keep running too fast on your easy days, you're going to get frustrated, and you're going to have a little bit more of a difficult time hitting those specific workouts. Okay, it's one thing to, especially in the early stages of a 20-month or a 20-week training plan. It's easier, relatively easy in the early stages of a build-up. The first 3 to 6 weeks, 7 weeks in. But it's when you get to that more specific marathon training where it really starts to get hard, that you really do need to pay attention to how fast you're running on recovery days. So I always stress, jog on easy days. They're meant to be recovery days for a reason. And yeah, I've seen a lot of athletes deal with that. It's natural. We get all hyped. We get so motivated to go out and train that we don't always uh, allow ourselves time to recover. So keep that in mind. I hope that helps. Let's see, Mister. Yeah, it's a tough event. You can play by the rules and still have a tough race. It's tough mentally. So true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Um, yeah, this platform's a little different. I can see your questions popping up on the right hand side. So it's similar to YouTube. Um, and I did check here. YouTube is playing. It looks like it is playing uh, a separate. Let me see here. Yeah, it just says welcome to our live show, but at least it's showing there, so that's cool. Um, Isaac, hey man, good to see you. Oh, awesome. 10 KPR 3624. Wow, respect, man. Awesome work on a hot and hilly course. Still trying to run a sub 17 5K PR. You're gonna nail that. If you can drop a 3624, you are gonna you'll destroy that 1710. And that's an awesome PR, by the way. Haven't been able to hack it yet, despite months of consistent mileage and sessions. Yeah, it's sometimes it's more than anything, and I know I'm preaching the car with you guys and gals. I mean, it's consistency and just continuing to do it over and over again. Sometimes we don't hit the goals we want in a matter of months. Sometimes it's just an additional year, an additional 2 years. The key thing is that we get to the point where we achieve what we're aiming for. I mean, it took me like 20 years almost to achieve what I wanted to do in the sport in my particular event. And so it really is just staying consistent and maintaining your enthusiasm, which I know you'll do, Isaac. You're doing awesome, man. 36:24. Yeah, if you can run that quick, you're going to go well under 17 minutes. Well under it. So awesome work, man. Yeah, Mr. Yeah, I wasn't shocked by what he did. You said 14:22, and thanks for the support for him and Grace and all of you. Thank you for the comments and for supporting Brock. Um, I have been considering thinking about starting a podcast. Uh, it's something I've been thinking about for a while now, about the past year over a year, but mainly because there's a point where uh, I enjoy making videos, but at the same time, it's also nice to talk to other athletes. And I do want to my first interview would of course be my wife. My second would be Brock, and then reaching out to all of you, if you want to jump on too. But it's just something I've thought about doing. But yeah, to mention, to have him discuss his background too. I know he has a lot to offer as well. But yeah, it was a great race. His school record was 14:33. And again, when I mentioned it was his last collegiate race, so he knew he had to break it, and that's what he was aiming for. He told me, he's like, I want to the minimum goal is to break 14:33, but I would really like to close out my collegiate career maybe around 14:28. So even he was a little bit shocked, but I wasn't, to be honest. I told him, and he was all over the trash can. I mean, he was hurting after the race. He gave everything he had, but yeah, it was cool to see him run that quick. Um, yeah, Grayson. Oh, thanks for your support, Grayson. I appreciate it. Sam, what happened to me? Tried to double threshold after running 20 kilometers every day, whole summer, in 6 weeks. Double threshold launched my VO2 max to the moon, but at eighth week I died. I was literally crying. Yeah, that's what I mentioned. It's just harnessing all the motivation and excitement for what you all are doing. And I've been there too. It's hard to, there's times where it's hard to harness that, and to time the training correctly and not run too quick too soon and get too fit too soon. Uh, that's kind of a strategy. It's really, it just takes time and it takes patience and looking at your past history. Like, say you've done 5 to 6 month block of training in the past. Look at the things every time you start a training block. Make sure you make notes. Keep your notes. I wish I would have done that. That's a mistake I made. I told Brock when he was in high school too. I was like, just, and he's real stringent on this too. But keep your training logs, kind of look back at what you were doing in the past. And I still remember a lot of the workouts I did and a lot of the races, things like that. But also make notes of the things. If I could go back now, I would have definitely done this. So don't make the same mistake I made, but start writing down some things, not only throughout your training week, but just the things that went right, things that you did wrong, maybe things that you can correct. Um, and in your build up, maybe the volume is too high. Maybe you're still running too much of your mileage too slow or too much of your mileage too quick, and make those adjustments along the way. Sounds like, I mean, obviously you're not, Sam, you're not lacking for motivation and ability, that's for sure, based on the types of workouts you're doing. And those double threshold workouts are very, very hard anaerobic, not only anaerobically, but very difficult physiologically on the body. So you do want to make sure that if you're doing double threshold, that one, you're literally jogging for 48 hours, for two days after that. Some athletes need up to 3 days, 72 hours of recovery. So just maintain what you're doing, adjust a little bit. You're gonna be fine. But I understand your frustration reading that. Very tough. I've been there. Edward got lucky with temps. It was hot in Cleveland all week, and temps dropped all of a sudden. Winds were brutal due to the lake. Yeah, I bet. But good to hear that the temperatures were good on that. Yeah, Cleveland, I heard, relatively quick, competitive course, competitive race overall. There's no, we always say quick courses, fast courses, but really there's no such thing as a fast course. It's, are you in great shape or not? You can run in a race like Rotterdam or Cleveland, Columbus, Chicago, any of these faster courses, or any type of race distance, 5K, whatever. But if you're not ready, it doesn't matter. You can go out and just blow up and go into oxygen debt way too soon in the race, get far too aggressive, and then blow up. So, we've all experienced it. It's not a good feeling, but man, is it a good feeling when you get it right. You know. Without reason, I thought I consumed all vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants on my body, and that reaction is hormonal imbalance. Yeah. I mean, that happens too. Sometimes, not only that, if you're taking in too much, like I mentioned, minerals, antioxidants, and just simply not drinking enough in the race, that wasn't sounds like what your issue was. Maybe it's just, like you said, it's a mixture of too much, and those things. It's just complex. I wish I had the perfect answers, but I definitely hear the frustration, and I have been there too. So, okay, good, Thomas. Glad to see it's visible on YouTube too. Yeah, I did look over there and see that it has like a thumbnail. I mean, I can adjust the thumbnail on it, but at least when I launch on Riverside, it does. I do have the connections going on those particular platforms too. So and I'm looking on Twitch too to see if it's actually running over here too. Okay, yeah, it's running over here as well, so that's good. Twitch is another one I looked up. It's real popular for live streams. Basically, Twitch is mainly just live streams, so it is running over there. Grayson also ran a 7-second PR in the mile yesterday morning. Ran 4:30. Wow, awesome job, man. Solo, an 87-degree heat, and PR'd in my 1500 with a 4:09 too. I ran my 15:17 5K in Portland, Twilight 5K in Oregon, sub 15 next. Respect, man. Grayson, you're doing great, man. That's some baller race times there. Nice work. High mileage, Grayson says the high mileage 55, 60 miles a week per week helped. That's good. Yeah, I mean, there's a happy balance, find out, just find out and adjust what works best for you. There's some athletes, I get a lot of questions about what's the proper amount of mileage do I need? Like I remember, who was it? Can't think of the name. There was somebody left a message the other day. It was like 2 days ago on the YouTube channel, asked how much mileage do I need to run a sub 3 hour marathon. I mean, it's a tough answer because everybody's different. There's some athletes out there that'll do it on 30 to 35 miles a week. There's other athletes that need to run 100 miles a week to drop a time like that. Again, it's just maturity to the athlete, background, experience. Um, and again, some athletes will do much, much better on volume. Some athletes, my wife's an example of this. She, when she was competing and racing, she did very well with just volume or just mileage. She wasn't really big. Speed workouts really didn't assist her any additional way versus just mileage, and she did very well on just staying consistent with mileage and, uh, and going that route. Where there's other athletes that will, like myself, who did, when I was competing heavily, do need to do that speed work and to get faster. So, but the volume in terms of mileage, yeah, it's going to vary. Some of you are going to do very well on lower volume, and we'll get the same, if not better, results as someone doing 50% more of what you're doing. So, but yeah, that's good to hear though, Grayson. Man, you dropped some great times, man. Yeah, 4:30 mile solo and a PR of 4:09 en route, and yeah, 15:17 for 5K. Yeah, you're on your way, man. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can tell you just from watching Brock. I mean, he had his PR last year. No, his sophomore year was in college was 15:08, and then he dropped it down to 14:51 last year, his junior year, and then he dropped it from 14:51 to 14:47 indoors, then ran 14:43 outdoors, and then 14:22. So you're in the same progression as he is here, and you're looking good. I mean, there's athletes that are doing it in high school, running that quick. There's some athletes that are doing it in college, and there's some athletes that don't ever run that fast, and then there's athletes that will do it post collegiate. So yeah, you're doing great job. Let's see here. Um, Trebo, Super Trebo, good to see you, man. Hey, how's it going, Run Dream? Long time no see. Yeah, it's been too long actually. I didn't realize I was away from doing streams this long. I had to look back. I'm like, yeah, 7 months. I mean, I've been making videos and things, responding to comments, things like that. But yeah, it was just a little too long for me to be away from doing live streams. So yeah, it is. It's good to be back and be able to talk with you guys and gals here live if you have questions and things. So that's cool. Just got back from the gym doing an easy tempo run, and it felt good. Good here. Half marathon Myrtle Beach coming in October, and I'm hoping to get 140 half or sub 142. Nice. I'm cutting out junk miles and doing more quality miles treadmill. Yeah, that's good. Remember those junk miles. I get that too. I've heard the term, but there is still, when on easy days, don't feel like just jogging will make you any unfit and any more unprepared for your races. Remember, it is still important to slow down and relax on those easy days. I know a lot of athletes will consider that junk miles, and maybe they don't feel like they're doing the running that slow is going to help you in any way. But you also got to keep in mind too that you want to make sure you're able to keep hitting what you're throwing at yourself in training. So make sure to, as you're doing, monitor how fast you're going on those easy days. Just take it easy, relax, give yourself time to recover, and then when it's time to do those hard tempo runs or speed sessions or hill repetitions, you're going to be ready to do it because again, you've backed off enough. You've given yourself sufficient time to recover. So yeah, you're doing awesome though, man. Meaning going faster intervals. Let's see, and doing more quality miles treadmill. Super Trebo mentioned here. Meaning going faster intervals, tempo intervals, treadmills get me used to running faster paces. Yeah. By fall, I'm tired. By fall, I'm tired running easy miles and not getting faster. Gonna run more quality, less mileage. Treadmill seems to make me faster outside. Okay. I did an 8-mile tempo treadmill workout just now and kept my heart rate at 147 beats per minute. Good. Average felt good, and I'm gonna build up over summer. Get used to faster paces, make faster paces easy. So when race day comes, half pace will. Yeah, I think it closed out on me there, but I get the gist of what you're doing. Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that um, you are training at paces that are, at times throughout your training throughout the week. And this is how a lot of the personal athletes, the athletes that I coach personally, and the training plans and the running courses, I always throw that in there and make sure that there are days, once or twice per week where you're running at paces that you are not going to be able to hold in a 10-mile race or a 10K, 5K, marathon, half marathon. Paces that are down toward your mile to 3K race pace. And again, it may be shorter intervals, repeat 300s, repeat 600s. Um, but again, like you mentioned, you want to get to a point where you're running more quality, running at much more aggressive paces, so that your goal race pace feels more comfortable. And you're able to you've really improved your lactate tolerance enough that you slow down less and you're able to sustain paces longer for a longer period of time and slow down less. I mean, it's just not a good feeling to be so early in a race and have problems um, being able to sustain the pace. So yeah, I think what you're doing is a good approach for sure. And again, you're gonna go. I think you're gonna run well under an hour and 40 minutes. Super Trebo, what is your current personal best right now for the half? And Myrtle Beach too. Yeah, that's a great half too. And the time of year in October, perfect. That's a good time frame too. Usually, October, November, December. Those are, especially if you're not really a hot weather runner, that's the way to go. So I like what you're doing there. Let me see. I don't want to miss anybody's question here. Yeah, Isaac, that's the name of the game. Just keep pushing, stay consistent and patient enough, even despite um, setbacks, because you're going to experience that. Was I did, and every other athlete, regardless of ability level, we all deal with um, times where you just really question, is this the best event for me? Sometimes there is another event. If you're spending all of your time and emphasis on training just for the 5K, but you've never run a half marathon, or maybe you've never run a marathon, maybe those particular events are better for you than the 5K, but it's still important to still spend as much time as you can getting as fast as you can in these shorter races, like a 3K, 1500, 5K, and then transition into the longer events, a 10 miler, 25K, 20K, half, or a marathon. Because again, you continue to really develop your leg speed and spending time uh, working much faster anaerobic efforts on top of building your endurance. And then moving into those longer races, you're going to be much more prepared. So let's see. Trebo, okay, 1 hour and 44 minutes in November 2021. It was a cold day. I did 144 in 2021, but Myrtle can be hot and humid. Okay, yeah, okay. Uh, by October, I haven't got back to 144 since 2021. In October 2023, I was on pace. Got sub 144, had great training, but race day ended up being 74 degrees, 100% humidity at 7 a.m. Wow, yeah. And I struggled to hit 150 half that day. Yeah, it's still a very respectable time what you did there, but 74 degrees, 100% humidity will mess up anybody. So most important thing is just when you get these subpar, in our opinion, or subpar, if we were shooting for a specific time and we're off by a minute, several minutes, not to get too bent out of shape about it. And I know you're not. I know you're already thinking about the next race. That's the best advice from most of the Kenyans and Ethiopians that I've trained with and lived with over the years, and they all have the same type of mindset. Most of them really, they get over setbacks, failures very, very fast. They're not really thinking. They're always thinking about the next race. I remember running a half marathon in Green Bay, And there was a Kenyan who flew back on the plane with me. He had a PR of 211. He ran 240 that day, and it was like he wasn't like bashing his race or anything like that. He was already talking about his next race and how he wanted to break 210 in his next race. It's just those real bad, being not so much bad. 240 is still a phenomenal time for a marathon, but for somebody that's run 211, that's a rough day at the office. But he was already thinking about his next race. Now I don't know all the ins and outs. I mean, this was years ago, but it's still, and I've seen it several times where it's just like, but specifically with those particular athletes, they're already looking at the next race. You know, so yeah, just keep that mindset. I mean, you're already doing things right in that particular. Your Myrtle Beach, as you said, it's just landing the right day and not dealing with high humidity and heat. Hopefully this year, you'll have a you'll have a much better experience in terms of more reasonable temps. Hopefully it's like 55, 65 degrees. Even that would be, and significantly lower humidity. So let's see, how long should the weekly long run be for a sub 19-minute 5K? That's a good question. 5K, I mean, you don't. I usually, when dealing with the 5K, I think if you can get your long run out to like 10 to 11 miles, because you still got to think that's triple the distance of what you're aiming for. But if you're staying between 10 to 12 miles around that range, uh, I think you're going to do fine. I don't even, even for if you stay consistent with the training and you're really working on your leg speed and doing the tempo runs, a long run of 8 to 9 miles can work for a lot of athletes. But I think anywhere from 8 miles out to around 12 miles is should do very well for most athletes for 5K. Because 3.1 miles is over so fast. It's still tough in its own right because it is, even though it's still an aerobic event versus an anaerobic event like a 200 meter, 400, 800. Because the 5K, it's still, I mean, it is aerobic, but again, it's also anaerobic as well because it's so short. In these races, I mean, even the type of time you're aiming for, you're pretty much at a sprint, close to a sprint, but from the from the get go. So um, pacing is critical in that. Getting that sub 19 is just not trying to make a major move until you're 1.6K into that race, the first mile. The best advice I always got when I was in college, or when I was in high school, my high school coach would told me, and I PR'd that day on the roads, 15:48 when I was a senior in high school. Um, he told me, don't try to make your move until you hit the first mile, then make it a 2.1 mile race. Okay, so if you're trying to break 19 minutes, just get out aggressive. Okay, the first 200 meters, my collegiate coach Jack Hazen told me, he said you can, and I always reiterate this in videos and tell athletes. He told me you practically can sprint all out for 200 meters and not build up any lactic acid in a race. So you can get out aggressive, but just back off the pace. And then again, don't try to make any major moves in the sub 19 attempt that you're aiming for until you get to the first mile, and then make it a 2.1 mile race, because far too many runners go out way too fast in that race. As you know, I'm sure you have experience too with it, and it's like I do. You get too hyped up and you just get too excited too soon, and then you have to, then you run slower in the last mile and a half, last 2 miles of the race. So as long as you do that, I think you're going to be fine. In terms of the long run, like I mentioned, I think every athlete's different, but usually around, I think for a 5K athlete, anywhere from 8 to 12 miles is sufficient. I think you'll do very well with that. Um, let's see. Yeah, no problem, Sam. Great to see you, and appreciate the support. I say, Patrick, Coach, can we call you Unc since you are literally an uncle? Yeah, yeah. You call me whatever. Yeah, Unc. Yeah, that's cool. Whatever you want. Yeah, it's. I still feel young when I'm out there, but man, I'd love to be able to have that youth that Brock's got. But you do the best you can, and like I said, a lot of you are doing phenomenal too. Even and you're at my age, or maybe I know some of you are a little bit older than me and doing phenomenal. So respect. Fortunately, we're in a sport where you can still do some phenomenal things. There's some really big things in the sport in terms of times and things that you want to do. Um, 40s, 50s, 60s, you know. Hey, Theo, Nate, been impressed with Grant Fisher. How do you see him running at Worlds? Yeah, that guy's a beast. I, I think I think what he's improved on, from what I've seen, is his kick. I mean, he was always strong. I mean, anybody that can medal bronze in both the 5 and the 10,000 and to run as quick, what I noticed, I thought that he's, especially in the last few years, I've seen that he's really worked on his kick. Uh, I thought that 12:44, almost 12:43 that he ran, I think it was like 12:44.08 world record in Boston, I think it was. Yeah, that his kick was extremely. It was just real steady, but in the Grand Slam races, um, has been really hard for anybody to outkick him. I saw I think it was the one in the last race. I think it was in Miami where he ran the 3K, but the 3K guys kind of took off. But again, those particular races, those Grand Slam meets, I see what he's doing. He's trying to get the Grand Slam champion um, result so he can win the money. But he absolutely destroyed them in the 5,000. Give me just a second. I get my daughter is wanting out. Sophie, here, hold on a second. All right, Sophie, want to say hi to everybody? It's her daughter Sophie, so she wants everybody to see her. Good-looking little girl. We've had her for 15 years. All right, so I gotta let her out. Give me just a second. All right. Yeah, but yeah, that's what I think. I mean, I think that in terms of the world championships, I think it's a fine line. I think he's got to be really smart with the amount of races that he's doing with Grand Slam, because you look at guys like Jakob. Jakob isn't racing any of those Grand Slam meets. I know he's training really well, uh, but he's being a little bit more strategic, and he's not jumping in those. So I hope that what him and a couple of the other American athletes are doing with these Grand Slam meets, I hope that doesn't hurt him later on at Worlds from like maybe over racing. But as you see, usually these Grand Slam meets, most of them, from what I've seen in the 5,000, they've just been a jog for like the first 2 miles, and then they sprint like the last mile and run a sub 4 minute mile, like Grant has. So in that respect, I think he'll be okay, because again, they're not going out there, from what I've seen from Kingston and Miami. They're not going out there running sub 13s or running like in the 26s for 10,000 meters. So I think he should be fine going into Worlds. I think those are some good prep races and big money races for sure. I can't blame him, because really track and field's not a big dollar type sport compared to like the NBA or the NFL, where these athletes are making millions of dollars versus track and field athletes. Good to see that what Michael Johnson did with Grand Slam, though, does offer those athletes some cool opportunities. So yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, I think he's going to be a huge threat for sure, and I think he's got a shot at winning gold for sure. Yeah. Sem, my next strategy will be base phase, and will be L21 fartlek, or 8 times 5 minutes every day, around 1 to an hour to an hour and 30. After that, do you think I can try double threshold again? Yeah, I'd just be lenient in terms of double threshold, maybe no more than once per week, and I wouldn't do that until again you've built a strong aerobic base, because again, you just don't want to. You obviously have an enormous amount of motivation and capability, but it's just timing the workouts, and again, not moving too fast. I think that what you're doing is fine in terms of the base phase. Um, Not doing too much fartlek. If you're doing a fartlek workout once per week, and then maybe like a light tempo run and then doing strides, and then gradually moving into double threshold training, I think you're going to be fine, Sam. I think what you're doing is right. You're going to be good. Super Trabo, yay, and yeah, and I also noticed in 2023 all the mileage on treadmills over hot summer months got me faster outside instead of plodding along slow miles in high heat and humidity. Yeah, yeah. A lot of athletes they think that. I mean, it's not everybody, but I mean, a lot of athletes think training on a treadmill is somehow less of versus training outside. I mean, yeah, you don't have wind resistance or anything like that, but a lot of athletes, including world class athletes, national class athletes, do very well with training on the treadmill. And again, sometimes it's just about being smart. I mean, if it's 100 degrees out, at least the wet or the temperatures are reasonable indoors, and you can get the workout in that you were aiming for. Okay, if you're doing repeat miles, you can do those on the track or on the treadmill at a set pace. The treadmill will take care of that, and you don't have to deal with high humidity and heat. But it's still important to get out there in the elements. Nothing beats training outside, but again, we got to be smart, and I think that's what you're doing. And especially if you're getting better results by doing it, do you, man? And if you get better results training on a treadmill versus somebody that's not doing that, then continue to do what you're doing. I think, and I've trained over the years several times for several months on the treadmill. Again, just the incline between a 0.5% to 1% incline, and that'll equal running outdoors with the wind resistance. But you don't necessarily always have to be at an incline either. So. But yeah, that's great to hear that you're getting better results by doing that. Sam Object is doing that training before of my age of 40. I'm not preparing for a race. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Smart. I think you're being smart about it. Yeah. I think you're gonna continue to get new PRs and do very well. Okay, but so, yeah, you're not really preparing for any race. You're just kind of trying to improve your fitness, so that's good. Super Trable. I also noticed Run Dream threshold runs for 7 to 10 miles at right before threshold. Seems my half marathon seems better than fast short intervals do. I seem to get better results, longer, easier tempos. Yeah. Again, it's just some athletes need to do more speed. Some athletes will do much better and get better results by doing those threshold workouts. Combination of both certainly is not going to help, or is certainly not going to hurt any athlete. But again, not it's just not trying to overload your system and doing too much. You know, uh, some athletes will do very well with just doing one speed workout a week, and the rest of the week they're doing mileage, long run. As you all know, most of you know that if you're watching enough of my videos, you know the philosophy of not just staying running relaxed and aerobically every single weekend. Um, Mix that up. Easy one weekend, following the next weekend with some faster efforts during the long runs um, is really going to help you. And again, it's just getting outside your comfort zone enough. I think that's, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew and Cindy, right? It has Mr. on there. I just want to make sure that, if not, that's okay, but I just want to make sure. Um, Sam, love you too, man. Good stuff. Uh, Make sure I don't want to miss anybody's questions here. This system, like I said, this software is a little different than streaming on live on YouTube, but uh, it is pretty cool from what I see so far in terms of being able to see your comments. Uh, and I think it will let me see. Yeah, let me see. It's letting me see live. Okay, updated comments too, so that's good too. Make sure I don't miss anybody here. Mister, seems like these short distances races become out hot and aggressive and hold. What are your thoughts on training this approach? That's I'm not sure of the question you asked here. Let me read it. It seems like the short distance races become come out hot and aggressive and hold. What are your thoughts on training this approach? Okay, so it is Matthew and Cindy. Okay, good stuff. Um, well, I think with any of the shorter races, I mean, with the 5,000, 1,500 for sure, uh, you have to expect it's just going to be hard from the get go, because it's such these shorter races, 1,500 meters, 1,600, 2 mile, even the 5K. The 5K, you at least have a little bit more time to think about what you're doing and not going out too aggressive and hyped up. The most important thing is you just want to make sure that one, um, you run your race, and it's natural to take off with other athletes, but sometimes it's just we overcalculate what we in terms of the paces. We run way too anaerobic too soon, and it forces us to slow down. So, and I certainly have made the mistake too. But again, you learn along the way. But I think with the shorter races, again, you just make sure that you're what you are doing. I know we're early on in the build-up, Matthew, and Cindy. I know if you're listening too, I know you're going to continue to do some awesome things this year. Both Matthew and Cindy, they're the Gonzalez team, and they're doing awesome. They've dropped several minutes off their marathon times, and they're working at various distances as well. But yeah, in terms of these shorter races, I just think too, it's know your limits in terms of your physical capability. I don't necessarily believe necessarily in limits, but I do think based off of fitness level, if your goal is to break 19 minutes and you go out and the first mile at say 17-minute pace, it's going to be tough to hold that pace because you're just going way too over the top too early. I'm not saying you in general, Matthew or Cindy, but it's just in general, athletes make those mistakes, and I certainly learned the hard way as well. But just continue to, again, you adjust what you're doing. If you're running way too fast early on in a race, just make those slight adjustments, and you're going to do very well in your future races. Good thing with these shorter races, 5Ks and below, we can recover faster. We can run more of those types of races versus a half marathon or a marathon, which takes a couple weeks to recover from. Sometimes even longer than that, depending on how hard you really pushed yourself in the race. So yeah, hope that answers your question there. Thomas, got to do better at cooking for the week and for the family. I enjoy lives and can't wait for the next one. Good stuff, Thomas. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, like I said, I've been away for doing these anyways for about 7 months, so I figured I want to start incorporating this into the YouTube videos that I make, and hopefully make the type of videos that are helpful and types of pain points that some of you or all of you have experienced or maybe having issues with. So yeah, there's plenty of voices out there, plenty of coaches, plenty of other people to listen to. So hopefully something I say along the way will help all of you in your training. So yeah, I think for now, I think I got all the questions. I definitely didn't want to miss anybody. But yeah, that's my plan. Moving forward, I'll be using this particular platform, and again, live streaming on these other platforms aside from YouTube. Hopefully, it'll help reach some other athletes that maybe don't know anything about the channel, or again, most importantly, get into those athletes that are maybe having some issues and maybe just need somebody to vent to or to ask a question, maybe something that's really bothering them. Just one simple answer or a different viewpoint will help them. So trying to think outside the box with doing these live streams. So yeah, I think I'll end here for now, unless anybody else has any other questions. Let me see here. Theo, okay, Nate, I know you've covered these topics on, and each runner is different, but if you had to prioritize, which would you place these factors? Mileage, speed sessions, nutrition, and fueling and mindset? Yeah, man, that's tough to answer because all of those are absolutely essential. They really are. I'd have to say really out of all those, I mean, and they're all extremely important, like I said, but I think mindset, because if you don't have the maturity level and discipline to deal with setbacks, to deal with times where you just don't perform, if you continue to beat yourself up over that, uh, and realize that, remember, this is just running. You know, they're the folks that care about you, and I'm not saying you, Theo, just in general, as you all know, folks that really care about you don't care really about how, if you how fast you run. That's not your self worth is not based on that. But I think that if you don't have the mindset to do this long term, then you can be doing the mileage, you can be doing the speed sessions, you can be doing things right nutritionally, but you're not in it. Your heart's not in it. Your mind's not in it. It's going to be hard to keep doing it for a long period of time. So I think out of all those, in terms of priority, you have to have the mindset. And I know you all do, but that's my. I think that's thinking back to my high school days and competing in college and post collegiate competing. Um, that's what kept me going over the years. I just found something that I love to do. I tried the very best to push myself uh, to the highest and the highest limit I possibly could. But I had that mindset that I was always thinking about what do I need to do to get to the next level, um, and how I dealt with those setbacks along the years. I just continued to stay motivated for what I was doing, and accepting the fact that even the world's best runners, world champions, world record holders, uh, Olympians, they all experience those. They all experience setbacks. They all experience so-called failure, um, throughout their running career. And I think that if you keep a positive mindset, if you maintain your motivation, if you don't lose enthusiasm, you expect some trials along the way. If you have that type of mindset that, hey, I'm going to continue to do what I want to do in this sport, and I'm going to expect the fact that I am going to hit some setbacks, I am going to hit some roadblocks along the way, but I'm not going to let up. I'm going to continue to enjoy what I'm doing. Then I think any athlete is unstoppable. But you have to have that drive and motivation to continue on throughout those tough periods. And again, if you're doing everything else right and you don't have the mindset, if that's not there, man, it's going to be hard. So I think that's where I would prioritize it. Just maintain your enthusiasm and maintain a positive approach. And I think all the other things will fall in place. So hope that answers your question, Theo. And thanks for the question. That's a great one. Um, yeah, so thanks everybody for jumping on here. Appreciate the questions. We'll be doing more of these on a regular routine basis. And like I mentioned, hopefully streaming on other platforms will be helpful for other athletes that maybe the athletes that don't know anything about the Run Dream Achieve YouTube channel. Hopefully they'll be able to be reached as well. So again, as I always tell you all, thank you so much for what you all do for the channel as well, leaving comments, reaching out to me, sending me emails. I appreciate that. Really, it means a lot, because this is more than just me. It really is. It's about sharing input and camaraderie, and just hanging out with all of you. So thanks again for what you all too bring to the channel. So for now, wish you all the best, and I'll talk to you guys soon. And thanks for jumping on here. I appreciate it. See you guys.